On Earth, a new ice age had begun when a mysterious portal appeared in orbit, leading to another solar system. There, scientists discovered a habitable planet named Rhea. Through the use of probes, they learned that one Earth year equaled 18 years on Rhea. Thousands of humans, fleeing the cold and hunger, traveled through the gate to the new world. However, most people were still forced to remain on Earth. As Earth's resources became completely exhausted, a mass migration was initiated, one the new inhabitants of Rhea did not welcome. Bran Marshall was among the refugees attempting to sneak onto Rhea, but before reaching his destination, the ship he was on came under attack. Along with his AI companion Edison, he was forced to survive in a rescue capsule. When only a few hours of oxygen remained, Edison detected a nearby spacecraft, the Nisa, which didn't respond to hails. Edison suggested flying over, but the sharp acceleration required would be devastating to the human body. Fortunately, Bran carried a drug that countered the effects of high G-forces, though it had to be injected directly into the heart. Realizing he had no other option, he began the countdown. After the capsule docked with the ship, Bran, reeling from the G-load, blacked out. He recalled his last days on Earth, when he and his daughter Riley had buried his wife, her mother, near her grandfather's home. Following the funeral, they had returned to the old man's house, where he was saying goodbye to a neighbor. The woman had complained about hunger, as nothing grew on her farm anymore. The old man, feeling sorry for her, had given her a box of canned food. Once she left, Bran had expressed his disapproval. He believed it was dangerous to reveal one's supplies in those times, and urged the old man to flee before she told others. But the old man had refused. In the present, Bran entered the ship and activated Edison. As they walked through the nearest compartments, Bran soon discovered the bodies of the dead crew. He wondered aloud what they could have possibly fought over in deep space. He found a wall covered in crew photographs, and remembered that Rheans considered themselves superior to humans. Eventually, Bran discovered food and medicine stores. But Edison then warned of rising radiation, and Bran spotted a woman aiming a beam pistol at him. She accused him of killing the crew. Though Bran explained that he had only just arrived, the woman was outraged. She claimed that Rheans delivered supplies to Earthlings, and this was how they were repaid. Bran told her to kill him if she truly believed he was guilty, but in the same breath, he shoved her aside and escaped before she could fire. However, the woman knew the ship well. She ambushed him in another corridor, knocking him down. Bran pushed her away again and fled, managing to reach the medbay just in time to lock the doors in her face. While taking medicine, he noticed a pod containing a crew member's body. Nearby, a screen displayed information on the crew. Bran found data on the hostile woman, but still couldn't make sense of what had occurred on the ship. Then, he saw the woman breaking into the medbay. He hid, waited for her to enter, and knocked her out with a blow to the head before escaping. She quickly regained consciousness and activated the fire suppression system, which began extracting oxygen from the compartments. Bran located an oxygen pipe and breathed beside it. When the woman returned, now wearing a mask, they fought again. Though weakened, Bran managed to disable her once more, while Edison restored the air supply. Leaving the unconscious woman behind, Bran made his way to the bridge, preparing Edison to interface with the ship's AI. But Edison reported that the Rheans opposed artificial intelligence, blaming it for Earth's downfall. There was no AI on the Nisa. In nearly 600 years of Rhean civilization, they had not evolved much beyond humans. Nevertheless, Edison entered the control system. Suddenly, the woman reappeared, pounding on the door and forbidding Bran from pressing the glowing control screen. But Bran didn't listen. He questioned why Rheans decided who was allowed to live on Rhea when all of them had originally come from Earth. He resented that Rheans shot down ships and denied others access to a shared world. Wanting to defy them, he pressed the button. An alarm blared. The woman sank to her knees, unable to believe what he had done. Edison voiced his disapproval, warning that the consequences would be disastrous. The next moment, increased gravity slammed Bran to the floor. In another flashback, he realized he couldn't convince his father-in-law to leave. Bran had gone out to the field and unearthed the money he'd saved for Riley to escape to Rhea. Riley had refused to abandon her family, but Bran and her grandfather considered themselves too old for a new beginning. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. Bran had ordered Riley to hide in a container while he armed himself. In the present, Bran regained consciousness. Edison explained that someone had deliberately disabled the ship's systems. The navigation had been sabotaged. Once Bran restarted the engines, they couldn't be shut down. They were on a collision course with a refugee station, and nothing could prevent it. Bran opened the door, but the woman attacked again. He overpowered her and strapped her into a chair, accusing her and the Rheans of staging this to kill refugees. She countered that it was Earthlings who caused it. The Nissa had carried provisions to the Earthling station, but during inspection, undeclared cargo was discovered. While it was being investigated, she had gone into cryosleep. When she woke to gunfire, the dying captain had told her he'd shut down the systems. She had run to the bridge to find out what had happened, only to see Bran arriving and ruining everything. Bran repeated that he had docked only after the tragedy. He remembered the man in the medbay pod, whom she identified as Decker. Maybe Decker had killed the crew and fled to the medbay. The woman introduced herself as Osha. Bran noticed a bracelet on her wrist, the kind worn by criminals. Osha admitted she had killed Earthlings. Their argument escalated until Edison reminded them they needed to work together to survive. Edison explained that the ship was heading through space debris. Bran remarked bitterly that it was wreckage from Earth ships shot down by Rheans. Edison refused to let another fight erupt. Osha would have to go to the engine compartment where a breach had opened and disconnect the engines. Bran from inside would have to activate the necessary lever. As Osha departed, she made a contemptuous gesture toward Bran. Meanwhile, Decker awoke and exited the medbay pod. Osha had just begun work on the first engine when Bran warned her about debris ahead and the size of the breach. They started on the second engine, but Osha's oxygen ran out. Bran resuscitated her. Edison later explained they needed to take control of the engines simultaneously. The pair grabbed the joysticks. As the ship changed course, they were shaken violently. They completed a second maneuver and collapsed. Still, it wasn't over. After a third turn, Bran nearly lost consciousness. Osha snapped his dislocated arm back into place, and he passed out from the pain. In another flashback, neighbors arrived at the grandfather's house to steal the supplies. The old man demanded they leave, but the neighbor's family was starving. When they searched for Riley and found her, Bran and the old man opened fire. Riley ran out just as the neighbor's wife fired a shot. A wounded Bran killed her. In the present, Osha noticed a photo of Riley. Bran confessed that he had lost his daughter unexpectedly. Osha revealed that she too had lost her family. The Rhea government had punished them for helping Earthlings. She didn't understand politics but believed not all Rheans supported the isolationist policies. Bran admitted he hadn't wanted to leave Earth but had promised his daughter he would survive. Edison reminded them survival still required action. Bran now had to enter the navigation bay and replace burned-out circuit boards. The room was minus 40 degrees Celsius. He donned his suit as Osha joked about Rhea's warmth. Earth had once been warm too. As Bran worked, Decker sabotaged a switch. Osha confronted him in the corridor, shocked by his actions. Decker confessed he had no choice. The Rheans had taken his children and threatened to kill them unless he destroyed the station. A convenient solution, an Earthling destroying his own kind. But first, he had to kill Osha. Bran finished his task and called Osha to let him in, but she was still fighting Decker. Freezing, Bran tried to escape through another exit, but had to remove his gear to squeeze through. He collapsed inside the corridor, where Osha knocked Decker out and rushed to help. She placed Bran in a medical capsule. Edison reported that once the system rebooted, control would return. Later, Bran awoke. Osha shared what she had learned from Decker. Bran suggested showing the video to the Rheans so their government would be forced to respond, but first, they had to finish the mission. Decker revived. Edison warned of another G-force surge. Bran headed to the cargo bay to get the drug, while Osha worked on the control system. Edison didn't know which wire to disconnect. They'd have to guess. As Osha faced that choice, Bran found not only the drug but a large bomb. Rushing back, he was struck by Decker. Osha had only 2 wires left. One powered life support, which required 3 minutes to reboot. That meant she'd stop breathing during the process. She hesitated, but was lucky. Meanwhile, Decker apologized but said he'd do anything to save his family. G-forces surged again. Bran was thrown into a memory. Riley, mortally wounded, had given him Edison, which she had developed. She had made him promise to leave Earth. In the present, Edison gave Osha final instructions and urged her to survive. Bran injected himself and confronted Decker, ultimately defeating him. With the last of his strength, he reached the bridge and administered the anti-G drug to Osha. He remembered Riley's funeral, when her grandfather had urged him to keep his promise. Perhaps he really could change something in the world. That was when he had first activated Edison. Now, Edison explained they would have to restart all systems to regain full control, which would reset him to factory settings. Bran protested, but Edison insisted. He had already uploaded Decker's confession, which would go public after the reboot. Bran said his goodbyes and reinitialized Edison. The ship veered away from the station, but with his last effort, Decker activated the bomb. The system immediately detected it. Osha steered the ship toward the gate while Bran brought the bomb to the airlock. When she thought all was well, he admitted the small airlock wouldn't open. He'd have to go outside in a suit. Soon, Osha saw an explosion in space. She mourned Bran until she heard a knock on the viewport. Bran had returned. Together, they gazed at an Earth locked in ice and discussed the ship's repairs. Months later, with the systems fine-tuned, they returned to Rhea. 15 years had passed there. As they approached, a dispatcher from Rhea Earth hailed the Nissa, overjoyed. The ship had become legendary for changing human relations. The film, though clearly low budget with primitive visuals and a simple plot, still stood as a respectable entry in the claustrophobic sci-fi genre. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next movie breakdown. Want more? Check out our recap of similar movie right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.